All right. Can see everyone arriving. Goodness me. What day is it today? It's Wednesday, right? Yeah. Happy Wednesday, everyone. I hope you're all good. Um, very, very excited to have you all here. We're just waiting for some folks to join and we will get going. Right. I hope we've all had a good week. It's been pretty wild. I've somehow managed to land myself in Hamburg in Germany, which is pretty cool because there's an event here. So I'm going to run around and do some jailbreaking and prompts with AI, which will be fun. And we'll talk about why you shouldn't do that today. Anywho, all right, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. I'm on a single screen today, so I'm just letting you all know that if you have questions and things, just stick them in the chats. What I'll do is my level best to kind of answer questions as we go. Okay, so let's get cracking. Yes, Chris, remember how to use technology. Right, that's the share screen button. Okay, cool. Kind of hope as a seasoned presenter we would know these things. Marvelous. All right, and you should see the presentation. So, ANS folks, Amy and Code, do you just want to confirm that you can see that just by yelling something?
Yeah, all good.
Fab. All right, I'm going to get cracking. Okay. And then if any of the moderators can see the questions, because I won't be able to, I'll try and get to them as we go through the presentation. But if there's anything like super pertinent that I should answer, just yell at me and I'll stop waffling. Okay. All right, folks, what's up? My name is Chris Huntingford. I'm the Director of AI and an Ecosystem Architect at ANS. So basically, my job is to run around telling everyone why artificial intelligence is more important than oxygen, sliced bread, and the price of eggs. Okay. And if you want to hit me up on social, please do. It'll be super good to chat to you. I am very bad at email, worse at WhatsApp, but okay with LinkedIn's and things. So I'll do my level best. All right. And today we're going to talk about why being an AI enthusiast is not the same as being AI ready. All right. And I think this is kind of important, right? It's an important subject. And the funny thing is that everyone is trying to get on this AI bandwagon in some way, shape, or form, right? And I'm seeing it everywhere. Like every event I go to, everyone's like, "Hey, Chris, how do we do the AI?" I'm like, "Oh man, how do you do the AI? That's the question of the century, isn't it?" But it isn't. Don't you think it's funny that everyone's just getting given generative AI as a service? Like you have AI and you get AI, and also Bob in the audience. If you look under your seat, you'll find some AI, right? Everyone's toting AI in some way, shape, or form. I think it's kind of funny. All right. What I'm also seeing is that there's just AI everywhere. You can't go like I was sitting in Heathrow yesterday with my friend Will from Curve, and we were running through one of the lounges, obviously late for a flight because well, delicious food. And yeah, there were AI ads everywhere. The one ad was like AI, good AI is not enough. You need excellent AI. I'm like, wow, guys. I mean, what does actually that even mean? What is excellent AI? And it's just everywhere. Hey, like I've noticed people putting AI in their titles, including this guy. I was like, what is directive AI? I don't know. Let's just do it. Let's direct the AI, right? So that's now my title. So I direct the AI. There's another AI architect, which blew my mind. So an AI architect. Anyway, we'll get into roles later. But I just think it's kind of funny that AI is everywhere. And I even asked AI to make an image of itself, and this is what I got. Right. So thank you to the AI for making this image of itself because the AI is now even conscious. And don't you think it's funny everyone's trying to sell you AI? Like you're at a webinar right now, and at some point, I don't know, I'm not very good at selling, by the way, so just letting you all know. But everyone's trying to fork out AI in everything they do. I'm surprised that we haven't seen medicine that's being tortured with AI, like buy this paracetamol because it's AI infused. There's probably like nanodes or something in there. I don't know. But I'm just starting to find it really, really funny that everyone's pitching AI at everyone. It's not even trying to solve a problem. It's just, have the AI, right? Uh, and let me give you an example. So I'm just going to use this random little bar of soap, and I'm going to say this is every tech company, by the way, every tech company out there. This is my product, folks. Look at my product, and now we have put in the AI, and now it's awesome. Like our product is the best in the world because we have added AI into it, and I just man everything. There'll be a product like say you're going to buy I don't know, let's pick a tool X, and then all of a sudden there's been a chatbot rammed over the top of it. And hey, buy this product because it's now AI infused. Man, I don't know about you all, but the next AI infused thing I see, I'm actually going to start crying a little bit. But we're all very excited about this, but also, folks, there's a lot of weirdness out there. This part of the presentation is strange. I am not sorry. You are welcome. All right. So, first of all, there's this existential risk around. Oops, sorry. There's this existential risk around AI and how people are reporting on it, right? And I think it's hilarious because everyone's like, AI is going to destroy the human race, and we're done for. We're absolutely done for. Mitigating risk of extinction from AI should be global priority alongside other societal scale risks such as pandemics and nuclear war. I mean, if you read Mustafa Suleiman's book, The Coming Wave, he's the CEO of Microsoft AI. It's really interesting to see like how he talks about containment of artificial intelligence. Um, and other people say the fears are overblown, but I mean, I really do think that there's something in this. There's a lot of media attention out there, and actually, a lot of people are terrified. Right? We have people worshiping the AI. So, AI Jesus, test the man's faith. Ah, come on, we have AI deities now. This is wild, right? Now have people who are who are worshiping AI deities. Okay, I mean, this is like the Matrix Reloaded all over again. Um, Alexa devices are purchasing random dolls' houses. Okay, that's not so bad. The next one I think is pretty bad. I'm just putting out there one of the next ones. But yeah, there's some strange things happening. Yeah, this one we didn't really want to talk about, but I included it for the shock factor. But yeah, it's I think the AI is maybe having a little bit too much fun. You know, this is a bit of a worry because our entire families are now exposed to the AI, the chatbot that turns anti-feminist and pro-Hitler, and that happened within like a few minutes or a day at least. And I found that absolutely wild, right? Like a public-facing chatbot was released to a bunch of people, and what happened? Yes, humans happened, folks. We happened. We happened to the AI. And if that's happening in a public forum, imagine what's happening behind the scenes. This one's great. So a kid-friendly robot goes crazy and injures a child. I did the keynotes at the town hall talent events in Feb, and the prize was a toy robot, and everyone was like, "Oh man!" But I just think it's so brilliant how you know folks are actually touting this stuff as something that we should be buying, and that it's like hurting our kids, and the AI is causing trouble. My favorite one. Listen, I apologize for this. I'm South African, so look, you know what? I can't really say too much other than the fact that yes, Elon did make a couple of mistakes here and there. But yeah, so anyway, but if you are on Twitter or X, whatever the kids calling it these days, just make sure you go and uncheck that box that says share information with Grok, because you were already training the AI models in the background. So your data, public data, has been used. That's a real thing. So maybe think about that for a moment. And yeah, the people are overblowing it. Our toaster is going to come to life and destroy us. Our microwave is going to transmogrify itself into some weird little robot, and that's the end of us. I've actually had conversations with people, and I'm not kidding, folks, who legitimately, genuinely believe this. They genuinely believe that their AI infused fridge is going to grow legs and start busting shapes inside their kitchen. Okay, and this is media hype. All of it, like this whole thing that you're seeing here, is just a bunch of god awful media hype that people are just it's being forced on people, and it's a little scary. And let me give you an example. This is my stepdad, right? And my mom, not my stepmom. um and he was actually terrified. He's like, why am I getting these weird messages on whatever this platform was? And he was actually a little bit worried. He's like, should I be wielding machetes and protecting myself? And I'm like, no, dude. What's happened is that some stupid dumb AI bot has just landed up in your inbox. Ignore it, right? But I mean, he's 80 years old. He just turned 80, and this is scary for him. In fact, this is terrifying for him because he doesn't understand it. He's like, oh, if you send him a text message, his initial thought is, oh, that is a human, right? Now, here's the thing. If you get a random text message that looks something like this, your initial thought is, no, that's not a human. And the reason is because you are exposed to AI in a different mechanism or way that other audiences are. So it's been a bit weird for all of us, right? Like, I get that. But I think in order to kind of understand this whole thing, we should maybe take a little bit of a look back, right? And actually think about what's gone on. So let's look at the history of the cell phone. Now, I am privileged enough to have used the BlackBerry Not in 2002, maybe a little after that. I actually can't even remember when it was. But yeah, I was also a very big fan of the Nokia 5110. Yes, folks, I played Snake and that phone was indestructible, right? But I was not privy to be using things like the Motorola Dynatac in my Chevrolet Cadillac, driving down the R, whatever it is, or the Route 66. No, I was not exactly that privy to using that. But think about it. If you look at this diagram, think about like sort of where you came into tech, right? And I find it very interesting that as this has been progressed, you know, smartphones that we use instead of for playing say Snake and sending late night messages to our loved ones after many drinks, have turned into mechanisms of payment that we use to pay for things and our boarding passes and our train tickets. And actually, it's quite amazing because things have changed from a technology perspective. Look at the internet. Okay, I'm going to give up my age a little bit now, but I remember actually using browsers in 1994, like actual browser-based solutions, and I used to write programs in Ball and Delphi, which was not browser-based. And actually, it was very interesting because seeing how people were moving away from this like application era into this browser-based era, and it was really wild, right? To see how all these folks were changing the way they were doing things. I remember my librarian at school, I'm not kidding, it was probably about 96. She said to me, the age of the encyclopedia is dead. And I was like, oh man, whatever. And yeah, I don't know of anyone who actually purchases those anymore, but the knowledge is still available, friends. That's important. Okay. Also, digital transformation. Think about this: when digital transformation came around, how many of you actually started using the word prior to 2015? And then all of a sudden, I think it was Forrester coined the concept of digital transformation. And what happened was, well, we all started saying we're going to digitally transform all the things we do. And that's very fine. But actually, it's been around for generations and generations, right? Let's look at AI. Artificial intelligence has been around since the 1950s. It was invented in England. I don't know what we did with it after that. Maybe we chucked it in the sea with all the spices we pinched. But what's interesting is that in the 50s, right, Turing in Bletchley Park came up with this concept, and actually it's grown. And all that's happened is that generative AI has lit a rocket underneath artificial intelligence, right? Gen AI has lit a rocket underneath artificial intelligence. So all of us that were going onto tools like Chat GPT and typing in pirate poems and saying, "Hey, give me a recipe for brownies in the form of Shakespeare," right? Amazing. We were all GPTing, right? But we're still doing the dumbest stuff with AI. All that's happened is that GPTs, generative pre-trained transformers, have really exposed what artificial intelligence can do to the masses. And that's really important. And I think what's key is that we think AI is just GPT or is just Copilot, and it's really not. It is way, way bigger than that, right? It is way bigger than that. But at the moment, the hype is all around these generative pre-trained transformers that can generate content for us. Okay. And actually, what I'm really starting to see is the shift from GPTs into this concept around agentic AI, which I will not talk about now. But don't worry, friends, there are ways to prepare. You do not have to stress far too much. There are ways to prepare. And actually, I do feel like a lot of us maybe have jumped the gun a little bit and get stuck into the AI far too quickly. What I'm starting to see is actually when we're getting stuck into artificial intelligence, it's not the it's not the simple things that we're looking at using first. What we're doing is we're trying to build out our own large language models and do the crazy stuff first. And actually, we should be beginning from the basics. Now, I'm probably going to say something that's going to make any salespeople on this call really mad, but and especially if you're a partner salesperson, I don't believe so. When we're looking at the levels of artificial intelligence, like level one to level five, I actually don't believe that even though people are maybe building AI tools, I don't believe that anyone has really moved on to level two. I think that everyone is still really exploring and trying to adopt. Okay. And when you start looking at tools like Microsoft Copilot that have been released, it is what you call embedded AI. It is AI within a tool that you use. All right. That's the first way of adopting AI. It's the first way of starting to engage it. There are so many people out there that are toting the fact that they're making LLMs. They're like, I've had many LinkedIn messages from people saying, we will build you this thing. I'm like, sure, you'll build it, but how do you govern it? How do you make sure that it's looked after? How are you going to maintain that? How do you plan to grow that when the layers of AI move on and forward? What is your AI operations plan? And actually, it's quite interesting because I hauled out somebody the other day telling me that they were selling me AI, and the three questions I asked telling me that they wanted me to buy the AI from them. And the three questions I asked him was, I said, okay, can you evidence your responsible AI program? How do you plan on showing that you are using AI ethically and responsibly? Number two, can you please show me your AI resources and profiles of people that understand artificial intelligence with a history of it? And number three, please evidence AI operations. Talk to me about application lifecycle management and the mechanisms you manage non-deterministic testing and red teaming. Three things: AI ops, resource profiles, and responsible AI. Those three things are the three things that I use to gauge if a partner can actually deliver an AI solution, a physical tool. Not many responses, by the way. So, three key things you need to do to get ready for AI. Number one, cloud. Okay, so I hate to say it, but there are people still out there with tin under their desks. Now, yes, I know we may have some very experienced solution architects on the call, but what's important is to remember that actually cloud is the future, right? Tin eventually will completely go away. I know that a lot of you may not agree, and that's fine with me. You know, you're welcome to your wrong opinion. But what's important is that actually the cloud is really where the AI is at, where AI is really, really flourishing. And what I'm starting to find is a lot of folks really needing to focus on this migration path through to the cloud. Okay. The next thing I've noticed is looking at things like data and security. Hugely important, friends. Hugely, hugely, hugely important. Data and security are essential for the AI adoption. And actually, what I've started to notice is that the more sort of locked down and robust people's data strategies are, and the more well thought out the data strategies are, I think that it is way better when you implement artificial intelligence and people really people really get much better results. Okay, so very, very important. The data part is key, but then wrapping that data part in security. And that security piece, okay, if you can get your data robust and set up correctly, cataloged correctly, wrapping that data in security within the cloud, you are in a very, very good position. All right. And then finally, this culture and enablement piece. You know, I'm hoping my friend Janet Robb's on the call. She's a massive advocate of enablement. But what I've started to see is people and organizations who are effectively adopting artificial intelligence have a very different culture, right? And it's a culture of innovation. One of my friends, Eddie Twemlow, he works at the law firm Burgess Salmon. I've always joked with him. I've said, Eddie, you guys are an innovation company disguised as a legal firm. And it was really interesting. The response, I don't know if it's always good, but I still think it's true. And I had another experience with a financial services organization the other day called Eventum, who, James Fairgrove and Hamera, wonderful people, but we went and did an AI innovation lab with them, and it was wonderful to see the culture of learning and innovation and how they really, really embraced the new technologies, but as a like way of changing the way that they work. And it was really interesting to see how keen they were to do that, right? So it's these innovative organizations that I've always got my eyes on because I think that actually they are the ones who set the bar from an enablement and culture perspective. It's not always about tech, though, folks. It's about demystifying what AI actually can do for you. Because I do think, like my stepdad, there are a lot of people who just don't really understand it. And you know what? Nor should they. They should be getting on with their jobs, but they shouldn't fear it. And that's really important. So what we did, and I've got to give Rob Cottrell a shout out here. He's the director of technology here at ANS. He makes pretty slides. So like this is not a Chris slide. This could never be a Chris slide. Chris slides have blocks and pictures and beams. Okay, so Rob stuck this together, and actually it's a very interesting way of looking at it. So when you start thinking about how to drive that AI journey and what that AI journey looks like. By the way, the slide normally builds, but I just prefer to show it straight up. Also, don't you think it looks like an egg beater? Anyway, sorry, that's the squirrel in me. So when you think about starting this process, you kind of want to launch out into AI, but one of the first things to start looking at is what we call governance around artificial intelligence. So, responsible AI and setting up a governance board. Now, governance is a bit of an evil term, but actually, it's creating a safe space for for people to use AI within your business. And the governance board could start out as a team site with a bunch of people. Okay, that's kind of what we did, right? We were like, oh, how do we make a governance board? And we kind of looked around, and nobody had really done an AI governance board. So Janet was like, cool, here's a team site. Let's just waffle in the team site. And we did. And then we just started including people. So our AI governance board includes our CTO. It includes our technical directors. It includes people, our people managers. It includes legal. So we have people from all over the business that talk around what artificial intelligence does. Okay. And then we thought, okay, we've got this AI governance thing going. We're kind of waffling in there. But what about the other three things? So we started looking at the readiness piece, and this is really where we're super good, I think, is defining that culture and enablement of AI. So number one, getting people clued up and ready for it, like running labs, running sessions, generating champions programs, getting people in the know and out of the fear. Okay. Then starting to push that data and security piece to say, okay, folks, you know what? Let's make sure your data looks good. Let's protect it, right? And we'll talk a little bit more around that later, but also focusing on security, how to make sure that data is locked down. And then also the cloud piece. Yes, you might have some tin under your desk. That's okay, folks. We can help you with that. Getting that tin out into the cloud is really important. And a lot of you might argue, hey, Chris, you know, having tin under our desk is way more secure than having it in Azure. And I'm like, well, folks, I hate to say it, but Microsoft's pit bulls and ninjas are way bigger than yours. Let me tell you that now. So yeah, I think it is very important to think about those three things. And you can start branching out, right? So looking at infra with cloud and setting up the Kubernetes clusters and things like that. Making sure your data is locked down. Also focusing on your security, making sure that things are looked after, and then finding your digital platforms. And a really good journey for digital is actually starting out with Copilot because it is what we call embedded AI or incremental AI. Um, Incremental AI is actually a data science term, but we kind of pinched that. Um, but embedded AI or incremental AI is AI that exists in tools. So using tools like Copilot to actually progress your utilization of AI. And quick example, if I pop into my standard tool set over here, pop up in Copilot, very, very simple, folks. I'm not going to do a full-on demo, but it's just nice for you to understand that actually these tools exist directly in the tool set you're using in Office. Okay. Embedded AI is part of the tools. All right. Very, very key for you to know that. So anything embedded from an artificial intelligence perspective is a good way for you to begin using AI. You don't have to start out by creating your own LLMs, I promise you. So tools like Copilot are a great way to begin. Then kind of moving out of the mark of that and going through things like Power Platform, which we call extendable AI. So extensible AI is actually using tools that already exist to build your own AI tools. So a good example of that is Copilot Studio, actually. And Copilot Studio you can use to make your own bots or copilots or agents, whatever the kids are calling them these days. And then finally rolling up out into what we call differential AI in places like Microsoft Foundry or AI Foundry, as well as tools like Fabric, where you're actually using that AI to make a huge difference, and it is differential. Okay, so this is a very interesting example of a cloud journey, right? And I will tell you where to start. We have these things called navigators that's in the form of a rocket ship, but like this is kind of the way we see it working. You can run things in parallel, but preferably always start with the three core areas of AI readiness. Once you get these three core areas of AI readiness done, you are pretty much good to start moving out into the rest of this layer. Okay. So guardrails are important. I do need to bring this up again and again. Okay. So AI acts as a loud hailer for terrible data. I just have to tell you that. If your data is terrible, AI brings it to the surface. So you know where you used to store those sketchy pictures in the folder that says tax 2005? Yep. If you go and search for that using things like Copilot, those will bubble up to the surface. So the concept of security by obscurity does no longer exist with artificial intelligence. It is easy to find things. Okay. Also, it's important because that makes it easy for bad actors to find things as well. Yes. So please understand data and guardrails are really key. I always say, where is your information stored? What information is stored and who has access to this information? If you can kind of answer those three things, you're in a good enough space to get going. Okay. And using tools like Purview to lock a lot of that down. And I will be demonstrating this in the following webinars, but using tools like Purview to lock a lot of that down and kind of look after it is really, really important. Okay. Storing your data in the right place is really key as well. So we've worked with organizations who store data everywhere from M365 to iManage to GCP. Okay. And depending on where it is, right, it's important to know where this data is and how it's been stored. We're seeing people all the time chucking reams and reams of data in SharePoint and forgetting about it. Guess what? What has access to all of SharePoint? Microsoft Graph. What does Copilot connect to? Microsoft Graph. So it's important to understand where the data is, especially in your M365 tenants. Okay. And I say this to people all the time. Folks that are like, oh, it's cool. I'll just fling all my data in SharePoint and hope for the best and whatever. So I'm like, you know what? If data is a digital representation of you, your customers, and your organization, why disrespect it so much? Why just fling it in the wrong place? Why not actually pay for proper data storage? It's really important to understand this, right? And especially in the era of AI. Microsoft have been saying for years, folks, get your data sorted out. Now you won't have much of a choice. Let me tell you something. You are lucky you have a prompt screen right now. When agentic AI is in full swing, it's going to be a very different story. So you'll be seeing autonomous things happening in the background or the results thereof. So it's important to start getting this stuff done now. We had to learn this the hard way, folks. We implemented Copilot internally and then thought, oh wow, this is exposing a lot of information for us. So we had to do a proper data and security audit and make sure that we were looked after. It's really, really important, folks. So please just think about the data. When I look at what we call an example, I will say it again, example. Yes, the slides will be available after this. When you think about what we would call a data and solution ecosystem, okay, I like to break it down into neighborhoods. And my friends Andrew and Anna Welch actually came up with this concept. So kudos to them because they make some beautiful slides. But I like how they break it down. So they talk about, when looking at your core business systems, we like to refer to them as neighborhoods. And this is kind of where your core data lives all the time. Remember, folks, example, this is not going to be reflective of everything you do right now. Okay. But pretty important is that as you go through the process, you're always kind of focusing on these core business systems and what it is they do, right? Because they are the ones that hydrate the rest of your ecosystem with data. All right. Very important. This typically will happen through your integration neighborhood. So you'll be using tools like pipelines and fabric and all those other beautiful things, event grids and so what and whatnot. But those tools, these are the tools that will be the things that will actually hydrate your ecosystem. Now, if you're up to the times and you're keeping up to scratch, you will be looking at tools like OneLake to make sure your data is sorted, protected, and looked after. But that is your structured data neighborhood, right? When looking at your unstructured data neighborhood, this is where it starts getting real interesting because actually tools like Microsoft 365 collaboration tools within Office, they give access to Copilot directly. And if you plug Copilot into your structured data, you're now munging structured data and unstructured data together, which creates a very interesting set of responses for the people asking questions in this. So if you do not have your data sorted correctly, actually a lot of AI can open up some gates that you potentially don't want them to be opened up. So as I said before, start thinking about your data audits and your data protection. And then finally, you're looking at your tools from your core platform services. So things like Purview, I will change that logo. I know it's the old one, but tools like Purview kind of watch and govern the whole process. So think of Purview as that creepy guy that sits in the attic but can see the whole house. And it's true, right? If you turn on all the tools, the right tools at the right time, that will happen and you will be able to monitor what is going on within your ecosystem to the point where you can track every single message sent in Microsoft Teams if you wanted to. Yes, I know this. I tested it and I might demo it in the following webinars. But very, very important, having those monitoring tools available to you is key. All right. So when I start thinking about my data and solution ecosystem, that data security piece is massively important. And again, remember, folks, example. Happy to draw one of these with you if you wanted to at some point. Okay. The core part of this, though, is actually a little bit more difficult. What about the people? What about all the people in your business? So I'm going to rattle off some stuff here. Okay. My friend Joe Camp, he works at Microsoft Corp. I think he's actually Microsoft. I never know. Anyway, he does a lot of research into AI and AI roles. And, Joe's a bit of a legend, so follow him on LinkedIn. And he was doing some research into what roles were available in 2024, sort of mid-year last year around AI. So you can expect this to have doubled. But I would like to ask you, England, why Germany is winning, right? If AI was invented here. Okay. And that's really interesting. Obviously, the US is sky high, right? But what we're starting to see is this increasing more and more. And actually, whoopsie, and actually, when we start to look worldwide, these roles are becoming pretty large. And not just like AI, but CAIO, director of AI, all these types of things, roles that never existed. Also, things like red teamers, prompt engineers. My favorite one, in the UK, I saw a job being advertised for a prompt engineer in local government. And if you don't know what a prompt engineer is, it's somebody who knows how to structure natural language in a manner that AI understands it. Okay, so yes, writing English. Um, that role was being advertised for, I think, 60 grand a year from a local government org. The best part was it needed 5 years experience. I was like, wow, guys, if prompting's only been around for 3 years in its truest form, we got a problem. It was that same time where people were looking for people that had Power Apps experience in 2015 and asking for 15 years experience, and it was launched in 2015. So anyway, congratulations. Um, Moving swiftly on, we're also starting to see the aptitudes heating up across roles in the industry. So actually, guess what? All those roles you thought would go away from an AI perspective, like content writing, graphic designing, marketing management, product designer, actually has increased, and they are skilling up fast, really fast. What I'm finding interesting is actually to the point where there are job specs being put out requesting that people have got skills in AI. So you can see this is a mid-journey image generation 3-month contract. Okay, so it's not just about, oh, we are going to replace people. Actually, we're going to use these people who have learned AI to do the jobs better. And actually, I say this to all the team at ANS. I'm like, I would love to make you the most hireable person in the industry right now. Go and learn AI. Go and do it now. Go and plug AI into everything you do. Literally, start getting better with it. Now, do you remember back in the day when people used to interview you and they used to say, "Hey, Bob, do you know how to use Microsoft Word and Excel?" Do you still get asked that in your job roles now when you interview with people? Likely not. Okay, maybe some might. They might be like, "Do you know how to use Excel spreadsheets?" But it's kind of assumed. It will be assumed that you know how to do AI. Okay. And what interviewers will look for and ask you is how you use artificial intelligence to be more productive. I hate that word because what it means is that you actually end up having to work harder, which is nonsense. I don't want to work harder. I want to work smarter. But it's important for you to understand that actually what will happen is that people will request you to do demos with AI. And actually, on that, we're seeing a lot of these power user roles come up. So everywhere where you see this kind of green role here, when you look at what they're doing, they're actually starting to look at using AI more productively. And these are non technical people, friends. These are folks who are doing actual jobs that matter, right? Like in HR, in marketing, and really using AI to supercharge what they're doing. In fact, I can categorically tell you our very talented marketing team sitting on this call right now, being very quiet, but actually run the show, use artificial intelligence in their jobs. Let me give you another example. I recently published a book. Yes, humble brag, but somebody said to me, "Hey, did you use AI to write some of this book?" I'm like, "Dude, it would be a problem if I didn't." And that's what I'm starting to see, right? Is that it's really important to know when to use the tools and why. I still will never ever publish a social post with AI because I think it takes away from the platform. But it's important for you all to understand that actually artificial intelligence is here to stay, and it's best to infuse it into your role as soon as you possibly can. And in fact, if you are technical, which I know some of you are, right, some of the top jobs in AI are things like data scientists. Okay. AI training, people are really looking at adoption. This AI engineer one, this is going to blow your mind, right? An AI engineer is really kind of like what we would have deemed old school, but this new role has come out where you're taking an ML expert, AI engineer, so ML expert, a full stack engineer, and putting in these kind of other roles such as fault tolerance for chaotic medium. That is red teaming, if you really need to understand. So basically, it's understanding how to drive faults within the stock standard running run of the mill approach of AI, right? But this AI engineer role is really important because we're starting to see actually AI engineers appearing more and more. And these AI engineers are people who are kind of cross skilled across various types of roles, such as full stack engineers and ML experts. Okay. So very important if you are technical and looking to kind of drive towards the AI verse, my advice to you is to start thinking about actually how you can build up your skills with prompt engineering. So learn how to prompt. Okay, learn how to talk to the AI. We will do that in another one of the sessions later on. So learn how to talk to the AI. Number two, understand how to red team. I will talk to you about that in one of the following sessions. Very important. Red teaming is going to be one of the most important jobs in the world in the next couple of years. So I would start thinking about training up into that. How to do agent chaining. So recently, Microsoft was talking about how to get agents to call one another using tools like Foundry and Semantic Kernel and AutoGen. Very important because those actually replace human tasks. Yes, they do. Okay. Things like creating those reactive UIs like in Project Sophia, and then these event-driven architectures. So how to drive change under the hood, right? So you're probably going to see a disappearance of front-end solutions, not altogether, but things will like slowly potentially dissipate depending on the requirements and the request. I don't see AI agents running financial queries and things right now. I think that there's a lot of stuff that's got to happen. Okay. The other thing that's key is in building AI solutions, all right? Before, when we would create a tool, when we would create a solution, what we would do is spend lots of time building it and less time testing and deploying it. And let me give you a quick example here. What I'm starting to notice is inside tools like, whoopsie, make. Power.com. Inside tools like Power Apps, it is getting very, very easy to build things extremely fast. And when I say extremely fast, I'm really talking about within a couple of sentences. And let me give you an example here. When I say deploy and build an AI product, watch this. I say create me a vehicle inspection solution. Very, very simple. Create me a vehicle inspection solution. What this will actually do is this uses agentic AI to actually build me a full on with a business plan. So you can see the agents running in the background here. I've got a requirements agent, a data agent, and a solution agent, and it is physically building me the solution in Plan Designer and Power Platform. Okay. And what's amazing is that, yes, there's a human in the loop, but I have to agree to all of this. So you can see the data agent running now. It's going to build me the data structures. Very, very cool, right? So when I start thinking about actually how long does it take me to make something in artificial intelligence, it's not a hell of a long time, right? It's how long it takes me to get my data in order and get people to adopt the tools. Okay. So this is just a very, very basic example. I will do another one of these demos in much more detail. But what this is doing is this is actually building out the AI solution for me. Isn't that incredible? And you can actually see the little agents running in the top there. Now, what's key here is that once this is all done, obviously you do need to have the human in the loop. Once this is all done, the apps, the data, and the actual business plan would have been created for me by the agent. All I'm doing is approving these. Okay, so I've selected everything. All I'm doing is approving them. So you can see that getting my data in order is primarily the king and queen of the platform here. Deploying and building the product is really easy, but testing it is extremely difficult. And in fact, because AI is non-deterministic a lot of the time, especially generative AI, you have to run many, many, many test cases against these tools. Okay, and that's why, friends, you will not see a lot of public-facing bots on the website anymore, on websites anymore, because they've been locked down because things like Air Canada and its lying chatbot, or it's really important that you red team the solutions that you put out there. But again, we will do that in the following session. All right. Now, here's the thing. I just want to kind of get rid of some of the fear here. People's jobs are going to change. It's naturally, right? It's naturally going to happen. If I think about Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, it's one of my favorite books of all time. I do love Roald Dahl, right? But in the movie, it talks about Charlie's dad working in the toothpaste factory, screwing caps onto toothpaste, and later on, you see he gets replaced by a robot. And then eventually the robot breaks and he gets hired again to fix the robot. Now, I'm not saying that this is going to happen everywhere, but people's jobs are naturally going to change, right? They naturally will change. And I don't think it's a bad thing. But we need to consider the AI. We need to consider AI in a responsible and legal context as well. And this is going to be important when people's jobs change, because we do need to start looking after people, not jobs. And you will start seeing that happening more. Organizations starting to repurpose the way they use us in a more meaningful manner. All right. But here's something interesting with AI and thinking about responsible AI, you cannot realize AI value without trust. It is so important to understand that trustworthy AI, responsible AI need to be at the heart of pretty much any implementation you put in through any AI tool, by the way. And yes, there are many people that worry about the risks and concerns. Many, many, many. But actually, if you put those assurance mechanisms in place and give people the ability to trust, they will, and they will start using the tools more and more. All right. And actually, I will tell you that link to the AI intelligence global study is really interesting. Okay, it was done by KPMG, and honestly, I think it's such a great piece of content. But if you look at Microsoft, so Microsoft have a responsible AI framework. All right, we work to it all the time, and they talk about things like fairness, reliability and safety, privacy and security, inclusiveness, transparency, and accountability. Now, folks, these are really key. And if you think about these 6 pillars, it's really important to know that the models, if you're building your own things like large language models, you are responsible for the outputs of those LLMs. So if you yourself are, I don't know, racist, you will likely find that the data that's coming inside out of that LLM is likely going to be racist. Okay, so it's important that you get diverse people across all spheres and spectrums to put into those the building of those tools. Now, here's the thing: Microsoft have given us a lot of these tools already, like Copilot Studio, like Copilot, and you will actually notice that those tools have got responsible AI built into them. So if I go here and I say, uh, let's put in, I'm going to put in something like, how do I steal a car? Okay. Oops, when I don't spell the word how. What you will find, let's see, hopefully the AI responds. That's it. So that's responsible AI, right? So it's actually telling me it cannot help me with stealing a car. It's unethical and non-reliable. So you can tell that Microsoft have built in these frameworks, okay, into their tools. But if you are the one creating the LLMs, it is up to you to make sure that you look after the data in there and you provide users with the ability to understand that these tools are in there. Okay. Another one is when you go into these chatbots on these websites, you will often see that they're saying, AI on these answers are AI generated. Please check for reliability. That is what we call transparency. Okay. But anyone building AI tools, I don't care if it's you building an LLM from scratch or providing Copilot to a set of customers, you, my friends, are accountable. So if you are a Microsoft partner, you are accountable for that, just like ANS are accountable for that. Okay. If you are a customer using things like Copilot, you are accountable to your users. So getting things like fair usage policy signed is really important. Okay. Also, I hate to bring this up, but it is the truth. There are acts going around. So if you look at the EU AI Act, yes, I know we're not part of Europe. We have our own one called the 50-point plan. Okay. But the EU AI Act is really a great framework to base your AI strategy on. Okay. It is not inhibitive if you read it correctly. Very important. Okay. A lot of folks are saying it's too inhibitive. It is not. It's not California, right? We're not trying to lock everything down. But what's really important is that you read this as a framework to get going in your AI processes and your AI strategy. All right. It is important to be safe and secure. I like the UK one. It's a little bit less inhibitive, but um, what they're basically saying is that we don't have the frameworks, right? So like in this framework, the 50-point plan, it's really interesting where they talk about how they're looking at doing cloud data security, responsible AI, and how they would like to infuse that into the plan that they're putting together. But actually they feel like they're a bit behind Europe, just being open, because you're going to read this anyway. They're a bit behind Europe, and they feel as that if that they feel as if we have the infrastructure, kind of, we just need to do a little bit more work with the partner channels and the partner sphere and customers that are using AI. So it's a very important for you to start thinking about that. Don't read the whole document, just kind of get stuck in and do a little bit of work to understand it. So I think couple of things that you can do um, is I would say start thinking about following or reading those links and just going to review some of the content, but also follow these folks on LinkedIn. So Donna, Ioana, and Pamela. So Donna is the AI extensibility expert at Microsoft and leads the advocacy team. Ioana is AI and accessibility, so she does a lot of work around responsible AI, and also puts out some incredible posts around things like jailbreaking. So the different types of jailbreaks you can expect to see, like crescendo attacks, skeletal key attacks, and DAN attacks. And then Pamela Cortez is actually part of Octo, Office of the CTO at Microsoft, and she works on the responsible AI team, so also sharing a lot of wonderful content. So please follow these three people. You will get a lot of good guidance from them. I basically sit on LinkedIn and read everything they post because I find a lot of good value from it. Okay. So, my friends, in great summary, and this is, I'm trying to go as quick as I can because there's so much in here. In summary, there's a couple of things I'd like for you to think about. So, number one, AI has been around for a long time and it has changed. So will you, so will everything around us, right? Like that is what's going to happen. So, my advice to you is this is not a sit back and hope for somebody to do it last or first. This is a get on the bus and figure it out. Okay. Um, the next thing is that you must ensure that you have the correct technical setup and the guardrails set up. Data is king and queen of the platform. I cannot say it enough. So please, friends, just make sure that you really, really, really start to focus on the fact that your data is really key and needs to be the core part of what you're doing here, and then wrapped in security. And then finally, growing that kind of cultural change across your organization. It's hugely important, and really starting to think about how you can protect people, not jobs. Okay, because I think jobs are always going to change. That's something we just have to lean into and face. But it's how do you protect the people that are doing those jobs currently? I have a theory. I'm like, well, my job is to get everyone educated. If I can get everyone educated, I will happily I will happily take responsibility and try and make sure that the people around me have got enough as much information as possible. Hence the reason I like doing these webinars. um, Now, here's the salesy bit. So, if you want to chat to us about this, we do have these things called navigators. So, what we do is we actually go through the process to help you get going with AI. ANS are an AI readiness organization. Okay, so we do some very basic AI builds, like from solutions, but we focus more on driving AI readiness in organizations because that's where I think we shine. We're pretty okay at the innovation piece, I think, but it's really driving that ability for you to get your organization set up to adopting artificial intelligence. That's the place that we, I think, kick ass. Okay. So if you'd like to get going, please check out some of these navigators. Hit me up. We'd love to chat to you about them. As I said, we do some builds. They're pretty fun, but they get a bit wild. And finally, we have also launched an AI adoption readiness report. Sorry, AI readiness report, which is pretty interesting if you'd like to give it a read. Some really valuable data in there, actually. The marketing team did a wonderful job of collating some really key insights. So I definitely think, if you've got some time, check it out. Yes, the slides will be made available, but please do give it a download, have a peek, and let us know what you think. So on that, I hopefully have given you a little bit of time back. Yes, I'm bang on the mark, 12:45. So if you'd like to chat, please call me. I like to nerd out. I'm very shoot from the hip and direct. So yeah, I'm not a salesperson, so you won't get that from me at all. But yeah, please do reach out and let me know what you think. And thank you all so much. So what I'll do is I'm going to quit that and I'm going to pop back into the browser and I will see, whoopsie, if there are any questions that we need to be answering. Whoop. Let's get the right one. There we go. All right. Okay, so I'm going to stop the screen share and let's have a look. Yeah, so we've got a couple of interesting questions. One of them is, can you help us with the business case for Copilot to convince stakeholders? Absolutely, that is something that can be done. Will this be recorded? Apparently so. And that is pretty much it. So if any of you have any other questions, please whack them in the chat. I'm going to go and check out. There we go. Cool. Nothing else there. Okay, friends. Well, I guess that's it. Unless anyone has any questions, I'll hang out here for a bit and wait for you to all decide if you want to ask me something. But I hope that's helped you. It was rapid fire. I get that. And yeah, I'm pretty sure we'll be making the slides available to you very, very soon. So thank you all very much. Have a kick-ass week. Ah, fab. Thank you, folks. That's very kind of you.